Andor has finally come to a close, and I think it's safe to say that Andor is a masterpiece from start to finish. These episodes were a lot more focused and didn't jump around as much as the previous episodes. And starting off, we centered on Luthen, and because he kicked off this entire arc. And we knew he wasn't going to make it through the show just because if he did, we would have seen him in Rogue One or definitely somewhere else. And I think what he did, where he met with Lonnie, and unfortunately, I think we all knew Lonnie was not going to get a happy ending. I really wish he did. I mean, he spent a decade of his life implanted in ISB, and his reward was a blaster shot to the chest. I don't blame Luthen for what he did. He loves cleaning up those loose ends, and especially in a rebellion that's so fragile and new, loose ends this early is what kills you. And I like how Luthen knew that emergency meeting was, it's important, especially since the magnitude of it all. I loved how he went from that and then went, oh shit, and started to line these things up and kind of threw safety to the wind because you kind of had to. I do like how he did have countermeasures in place to kind of clean shop, but especially since he started out cleaning shop when he wasn't rushed and there was no one really there rushing him yet, I do find it a little bit odd. And I know it's purely for plot, but it's odd that he left probably one of the most important pieces besides the contacts intact. I get it. It's an oversight. He was being dramatic about it all. But still, I do like his ending to his story. I wouldn't have been surprised if he got a terrible death. But I am happy that with everything he has sacrificed, he did get a good death. He died getting probably the most crucial information in the entire history of the rebellion. I like how Deidre was finally the one to bring him in. I do think that it is very much in her nature to be overzealous, and everything played out exactly as it should for her. She has been overreaching since day one, and although I do like the actress, and I do think she did a great role in the part, she definitely got all that she deserved. I loved it at the end when we saw her back in the prison cell that Andor was in, or a similar one. She lost everything, and you know what? I'll take it. And getting this information off-world with Clea, and we got a little bit of backstory between Clea and Lutheran, which I did not think any of us were really expecting, and I'm kind of glad we got it. I like how she had to end up killing this father figure that saved her, and I like how Clea and Luthen would do anything for Rebellion. And they've showcased that time and time again. But I do like that Clea did get that moment to save Lutheran from an even worse death, and she was able to send him off. I do like that when Clea did need help, Andor, of course, came to the rescue. Of course, thinking it's Lutheran, even though every single time he says it the last time, we know it never is the last time. I like how he always did come running, and I like the small little action that we got there. I like how Andor did bring some of the cast from Rogue One, and I gotta say, I love KS20. He's one of my favorite characters in Rogue One. I loved him here. Alan Tudyk kept up the same energy. He was witty, and even when the character's being serious, I couldn't help but laugh just at his line delivery, his voice. Alan Tudyk is just a masterclass voice actor. He's definitely one of the best ones, and I love him in everything. Disney has used him in so many projects. Unless you're pretty much a Jedi, have some explosives, or you're just a really good shot, blasters aren't going to do a thing to it. I just liked watching him just calmly walk up to all of these just blaster firing folks and just chucking them everywhere. Just not a care in the world. And one detail I thought was really, really interesting in this, and I believe we saw this in Rebels too, is all of the Imperials are wearing the Stormtrooper armor, which I think is funny because the Stormtrooper armor seems like you always get hit once and you die, whereas like the Rebels wearing no armor gets hit and they shrug it off and they're fine after like a day in the infirmary. But besides the point, I love how they don't wear the mask and the helmet, because in Rebels, and it's further proven here, and you can even see it in A New Hope, is that Rex said that the new helmets, the Stormtrooper helmets, prevent you from seeing and from aiming properly. Everything's a bit off and you can't see out of it properly. So I love how, unless you're a stormtrooper, none of them wear it. Even if they are wearing the rest of the armor, I just think that's such a funny note, and I think it plays so well here. I do like how Andor wasn't a big focus in these episodes, although he was still very important. He is being set up for Rogue One, and I liked what they did set up. This show ends right where Rogue One begins. I loved how when they brought back the information that they had to convince this makeshift council just because of how Luthen is, and the council knows how Luthen is and how there's rumors of him being fed information. I like that distrust, but then once all the other pieces start falling into place, how they start to realize, okay, maybe we should give this a shot. I like that although Cassian goes on these unsanctioned missions, the rebellion knows how important he is, and they do give him that leeway, as he is probably, at this moment, in the top 3 most important people in the rebellion. I think he's up there with Bail Organa, Mon Mothma, and then him. Probably not in that order, but he could do whatever he needs to, as they know he gets results, and he'll always be there. And I like how they do continue to prove that. I do like how we did see where everyone did end up, and it was not super surprising to see Bix with a child. I mean, I think... God, I'm trying to remember who I talked to. I'm pretty sure it was Edward when we were talking the other day, and I think he called it that odds are she's probably pregnant, and yeah, he was 100% right. And I do like how in this episode we did see more of Director Krennic and how the pressure is building onto him from the Emperor, that he's already late with the Death Star, and now there's this leak, how he is starting to struggle and do everything he can to keep this from getting out. And I'm kind of surprised the rebels didn't kind of see how they were pushing all this information, especially on Coruscant, and not realize that, okay, maybe what that information they have is pretty legit. With how this sets up Rogue One, everything became connected. It is set up so perfectly well that throughout these 3 episodes, I was wanting something big, a big finale, but then I was thinking, These aren't the finale episodes. And with the previous 3 episodes that we had, with those big events, that is the climax of Andor. But these 3 episodes aren't the finale. What the finale is Rogue One. That is the true finale of Andor, and that's like a 2-hour, 15-minute episode that picks up right after this. And I don't know about you guys, but I can't think of a better thing to do after watching Andor than going to go watch Rogue One. So make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell, as I'll be back here again tomorrow with more thoughts on Rogue One, as that's already my favorite Star Wars movie. But after seeing Andor, I think it's going to be a lot better. So if you excuse me, I got a movie to watch.